Caleb Olson, welcome to Conversational Pace, Chatting Shoes. This talk has been a long time coming, but
You
I'm
worked hard
so
for this
glad.
one.
Dude, I worked hard for this one, and here we are. Wow, a lot of orange in your background. What are you up to? Where are you at right now?
I'm at the Nike Athlete House in Chamonix right now. They've really embraced orange, it seems like recently. So there's a lot of orange everywhere, down to like the couch throw cushions and the blankets and everything.
Oh wow, yeah, they went all out for. Is
Yeah.
uh, is that where you're staying, or are you staying somewhere else?
I'm staying in an Airbnb with Morgan and Marshall on the other side of town, but this is like where all our meetings happen, and I've been in back-to-back meetings for a lot of the day, so I'm still here, and it's got good Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, solid. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of your day to chat shoes and gear with me. So for those who don't know, Caleb's pretty good at running. He's our 2025 Western States champion, and I've so many questions about what's been going on because
Yeah.
it seems
Where should we
like
start?
Nike's been making a pretty big push in the trail scene, and I feel like you've been one of the I mean, I would still say you're somewhat newer to the Nike Trail team in relation to how long they've actually been around, but you've been really riding that wave of kind of like the new generation Nike Trail
Yeah.
team. So it would be cool to just hear, a little bit about, what your past, what is it, like year
It's only
and
half, like a little more than a year and a half.
yeah, how is it now versus when you first started out on the trail team?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like you said, it has changed a lot very quickly. And it, I feel like I kind of joined right at the tail end of like classic Nike Trail, where it seemed like they were making good progress and like trying, but like still not maybe considered a top of mind brand when you think of trail running. And part of the reason why I was excited about joining Nike Trail is because when I was talking to the brand, looking around before I'd signed, they kind of hinted at these things that were coming, big changes coming soon, that sort of thing. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but um, I got the impression that there were some significant investments coming in, innovation, and just like dedication to becoming one of the top brands in the sport. And I think we're seeing that now with this launch of like all conditions gear, all conditions racing department. That really is basically Nike Trail is now like included under that umbrella, but that's kind of the new team. And it's been really cool because that ACG as a brand has kind of this long standing history that Nike Trail doesn't really. It's a bigger department within Nike. So them combining brings all these new team members, all this innovation, additional resources to Nike Trail. But then the idea is that the Nike Trail athletes can still, now all conditions racing department athletes can still be able to provide all of this like insight into what makes good apparel, good shoe technology for top end performance. And then ACG, which has more of like this, at this point, it's kind of known as more like a lifestyle brand, like streetwear, can hopefully, I think the idea is kind of bring like this cool factor to uh, the performance side of things and make it more like appealing to a wider audience, I guess, and spread more trail running out there through that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely made a few fashion statements in your last race that kind of broke the internet. Um, I guess the other thing too with ACG is it doesn't pigeonhole Nike Trail just into running.
Yeah.
I've seen. Well, you like to climb mountains, even like outside of like the running sphere. I mean, how many times have you been up Mont Blanc in the last week?
Just two.
Just two, but they were on back to back days.
There were, yeah, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, all conditions. Calling a brand all conditions anything is pretty inclusive. You can fit a lot under a umbrella that says that you build gear for all conditions. So that's fun because I can go do Mount Blanc wearing these like pretty cool shoes that are custom built for glaciers and like for scrambling. And on the other hand, I can also have this like I was wearing a prototype jacket that was really nice for like this super light layer that breathes well, but also can keep out a glacial wind on top of Mount Blanc. But yeah, there's a widespread. I mean, it's all the way from that to radical airflow sweater looking thing for Western states that can handle 100 plus degrees. So it's a wide umbrella.
Yeah, I want to hear a little bit more about radical airflow because, I mean, when it got debuted, at Western States, well, it was like Western States and what Lavaredo weekend, kind of the same deal. It didn't even have a name publicly yet, but and I feel like even now, like it's only been a public name for a couple days now, but outside of just the like Nike press releases, I would love to hear. I haven't gotten to hear much from any of the Nike athletes about what went into the testing for the fabric and then the ultimate decision to like wear it at Western States and have the confidence that like it's like clearly doing something.
Yeah. No, it works. It's really cool. I first tried it on at Western States 2024. They had like a super early version of it. That's where I first heard the term radical air. And it was this Daniel was kind of like the lead designer that brought it to Western States and let me try it on. And I remember saying, like, I put it on, walked around the room, and I was like, dude, can I race in this tomorrow? Like, I was racing like a couple
Really?
days later, and I was like, this is good enough that like I would pick this over my T-shirt right now. And he's like, nah, like one, I don't think we're allowed to, but also like it's not ready. Like, I don't know. It was a very rough draft, but it's come a long way since then, and a lot of that has been like I've made multiple trips out to Nike campus in Portland, Beaverton, Oregon, and done these runs. They have like an environment chamber where they can set the wind speed to whatever speed I'm running at, plus like whatever the estimated Western States breeze is going to be that day, and put me in at 85 degrees, dial everything to exactly like estimated race conditions, and I logged probably a total of like 3 hours on that treadmill, just
Oh
trying
man.
all different combinations of like sleeve length, different hole placement. I had little sensors all over my body for both like skin temperature and then internal temperature pill. Like they were getting all kinds of data about it. And we ended up going for the configuration that you saw at Western States. But it was cool because everything was dialed perfectly for me. Like it was a custom fit size Caleb kind of shirt where like the sleeve on the left arm came to just below or just above like where I wear my watch, and then the right arm was a little bit longer because I liked that full arm coverage for like sun protection and like maximum water against skin surface area. But yeah, it was super fun doing all the testing and getting it dialed.
Wow. Yeah, that's super cool. That I thought you were going to say that turns out you have two different length arms, but the watch makes sense. So
Yeah.
for the fabric, did you find that there was like a particular pace range or temperature range where the shirt was, like the most ideal? Like, like if you're out there on the States course and you're like blowing up, it's not helping you, or is it a little bit less nuanced than that?
I don't think it's super nuanced. I think even if you're blowing up and walking, as long as there's a breeze, it like the name kind of alludes to this, but it relies on airflow. It
Hmm.
is so much more effective if you got a breeze going through it. So going fast enough or having enough of a breeze that air is flowing through those holes, that it's not just a sweater with holes in it. Those holes are like very specifically engineered to funnel air throughout the whole like garment, and it when it's wet and you pair that with airflow, it has a significant cooling effect. So I think whatever the pace you're going, if you meet those conditions, it's worth wearing.
And you'd mentioned that like you were trying to. I mean, clearly at Western States, you're trying to stay wet the whole time too. Uh,
Yeah,
does the cooling tech still work even if the shirt's dry?
it does. Yeah, like the first time I tried it on and just walked around the room, I felt like, whoa, this is weird. This is colder than me not wearing a shirt.
Mm.
But it it's hugely amplified. Like if it's a 6 out of 10 cooling without being wet, it goes up to like an 8 or a 9 when it is wet. Like it's way better when it's wet.
Man, that's super interesting. So it wouldn't be like what do you have like a minimum temperature? Like if the high didn't get above some degree for the race, you wouldn't wear it.
It depends because like I'll do winter races like Trans Gran Canarias in February, and I've been training in sub 30 degrees all winter in Utah, and I go out and maybe it's 65, 70, 75 degrees on Canary Island, and that feels hot, and I would have liked that shirt there. Even in 65, an exposed sunny 65 can feel hot when you're
Mm-hmm.
racing. So I'd say anything where you think you're going to feel hot, temperature is less important, but it's more about if you're going to feel hot. I do think it can feel very cold. Like I wouldn't wear it for a true winter race or a race where it's going to be cold and rainy. It does need to. It's the kind of thing where it's only worth wearing if it's going to feel hot.
Yeah, like looking at the weather forecast for like you're not racing UTMB this week, but
No,
it's
I
looking
might.
like it. Yeah, it's looking kind of crappy for UTMB this
Yeah,
week.
but like I am crewing Anthony, and we just did his meeting, and he's doing CCC on Friday, and I have a feeling you might see some radical airflow out there.
Oh
So and
yeah,
weather is like still it looks okay, but it might rain a little bit, and
yeah,
yeah, there are athletes who are still thinking that that is worth wearing, even given those circumstances.
yeah, and even for something like CCC, you're doing pretty much the entire race during the day in the sun as well.
Yeah,
Whereas like I guess maybe with UTMB, it's something you throw on like the next morning or
yeah.
something like
The
that.
other thing with those races is you're wearing a vest over it, which changes the airflow. Like for Western states, it's great because you're wearing a belt, or at least I was wearing a belt during the hot part of the day, which really maximizes airflow, and that's why I
Mm-hmm.
chose that. But when you throw a vest over it, it limits the airflow, which actually could be a good thing in this case, where it's like only kind of cold or only kind
Oh,
of hot.
okay. Yeah.
So that'll add a few degrees with the vest on top.
Right. Right. Which that's another thing. I think you've been rocking an ACG branded like vest and waist belt, right?
I've been rocking a lot of ACG everything, including vest and waist belt. Yeah,
That's cool. That's cool that they've also continued to invest time in the development of pack. Because one of my
yeah.
favorite packs of all time was like the original Nike Trail Kiger pack,
Really
and I still think about that on runs.
nice.
So
Yeah, they've come a long way. I mean, that's another. There's a lot of things where even in just the past year and a half from the first prototype version that I ever got to now, it's gotten significantly better. And I think like the pack and belt are both examples of that, where they went from like kind of an unusable, really early prototype to like now they're actually quite good, like competitive with anything else out there, if not better.
did you ever think that you would be going this far into the weeds in regards to like product development and testing with any future sponsor?
Uh, no, it has been much more. They have this phrase at Nike that's like voice of the athlete. Like they base all of their design and basically like product decisions off of like the feedback from the voice of the athlete. And it's like kind of a I don't know. When I first heard that, I thought it was just like a cheesy thing that like they say, and they actually like really take it to heart. And I feel like I have a strong voice here, and it's fun to feel like I'm actually sort of shaping some of the direction of where these things are going. And then I see it iterate. I see my feedback actually in the product that like. I see these changes that I suggest, and then it works, and it's fun to try and see that. And like the Ultrafly is a good example of that, where we went through a bunch of iterations of it, and I there were some good things about it, there were some not great things about it, and now this final version includes a lot of these changes that we've made in part due to me, which and due to the rest of the team and their feedback. But it's fun to see my stuff implemented in those.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about the history of this. I guess I've been calling it Ultrafly 2 for like 2 years now, but I guess it's officially now ACG Ultrafly.
Yeah, I was also calling it Ultrafly 2 for a while there, but we're starting over on the numbering system, and it is the ACG Ultrafly.
Okay. So let's see. I'm trying to think. The first time I put on the ACG Ultrafly was like a hand built, cobbled together pair in the
Mm-hmm.
fall of, what was that, 2023?
Yeah,
Because, yeah, you were supposed to
you wore it
pace
before I
me.
ever did.
I might have worn it before like anyone ever did just because,
Yeah,
yeah, that was just good timing. But
yeah. It was going to be your
then
Javelina. Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
I wore it
or it,
for
yeah.
Yeah, or for the 100K of
Yeah,
Javelina.
you're pulling 100K. Okay.
But that was kind of the first version of it, which was not particularly durable. I remember it was pretty soft and even started to like pack out, around the 40 or 50 mile mark. And in that one, it had like a full length carbon plate, which
Hmm.
made the shoe like insanely stiff. I guess probably a little bit too stiff, but I would be curious to hear about, I guess, how many different versions you've run in. And the other thing too is, you did wear a prototype at States in 2024, and
Hmm.
then or like in pictures it looks like you wore the same shoe in 2025, but I know they were completely different. It'd be interesting to talk about how the shoes evolved just from like one Western States to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned. So I guess first, I would guess I haven't been keeping track of the different versions that I've worn, and there have been so many little like there'll be like they'll send me two different versions that are almost exactly the same, but the foam density is like some tiny percentage different, and there it's just like A/B testing, like which one do you prefer? And so if you count all of those, I'll bet I've worn like 12 different versions of it or something like that. But um, what you mentioned with like you kind of felt like the foam was packing out quickly during javelina after 40 or 50 miles, that's the exact same thing that I noticed. Like I'll bet the foam was very similar when you wore it then to when I wore it in 2024 Western States, because I noticed that same thing. And it's tough because you don't often there aren't a lot of testers out there who are doing 40, 50 plus mile runs in these shoes very frequently. So it's a tough thing to test because it might feel great day after day for up to a 20-mile run, but where you really notice it is when you consecutively wear it for 50 miles straight. And when I wore it for 100 miles, tried to wear it for 100 miles straight during Western States, after about 40, I noticed that it was packing out. I felt like the foam wasn't as responsive as it was when I first put it on. My feet kind of started aching. So I think I did my first shoe change at Michigan Bluff for mile 55, but I spent a good 15 miles there, like kind of wishing I could do a shoe change earlier. And then same thing happened. Like wore it for 30 miles over to Green Gate, and mostly I could kind of start to feel the same thing happening again, and I just wanted to avoid like that was my last good spot to do another shoe change, and so I wanted to avoid packing it out again. So I did another one there. So I ended up wearing three pairs of the same shoe,
Hmm.
just to refresh the foam basically throughout that race. And that was like the main immediate feedback that I gave them after that was this: I got to be able to wear the same shoe for 100 miles straight. I can't be changing shoes twice. I lost 5 minutes doing that or something. I don't know exactly, but
Yeah,
so
totally.
then after saying that, I got a few different versions with a few different densities of foam, some way denser than where it was then, and quickly found the extreme of like, whoa, that was way too much. I don't like that. Let's dial it back this way. But ended up with something that felt much more durable. I then wore it for Transgran Canaria, and that was 80 miles, and that was a good test of like, is this going to hold up for the full 100 at Western States? And I wore the same pair all 80 miles at Transgran Canaria, and it felt good. And then Western States this year wore one pair the entire time. It felt great the whole time. So that was a cool, like, direct comparison on exactly the same course, very similar conditions, and like in 1 year, how much progress there was. It was measurably a great difference.
Yeah. Do you know if that was just all purely foam density or if it was like a little bit of like the ingredients in the foam as
It
well?
was, yeah. I don't know what I can say and what I can't, but I do think that there are some changes to the foam, and I don't think it's just density.
That's what I'm starting to notice across like a lot of the major, like the big running brands is the first version of their trail super shoes where they're like, it was the road marathon shoe foam
Yeah,
in the trail shoe, but now we're getting more specific trail formulations of the foam. That's like
yeah,
greatly increasing the long-term durability over the course of one single run.
yeah. I think
Because
that's
kind of
what
like
we're.
you said, like Zoom X was designed around 26.2 miles.
Mhm.
And
I
you're
know.
you're
Yeah, so it makes sense.
you're
Like
going a lot
it's
farther.
yeah, and in that case, like you would never be running 40 miles in it. So who cares if it packs out after 40 miles? But
Yeah.
yeah, in this new environment, that needs to change.
Yeah. I saw That's a pretty spiffy colorway. I don't have an Ultrafly 2 on hand, but I have the original Ultrafly right here.
Nice.
Kind of interesting. If you could hold your pair up now that I
Yeah.
know you're allowed to. Just curious to see like, so the silhouette of the shoe has changed quite a
Hmm.
bit.
The heel's kind of popping out sharper here.
Yeah, and looking this way, it like kind of the foam swings in a little bit and then
Yeah.
flares out almost even more. You found that because you've run. How much have you run in this original Ultrafly?
Very little, actually. I took it on a couple runs when I first joined the team. And to be fair, I picked bad days where it was like midwinter, kind of frozen mud, really uneven, bad terrain. And I was just like bouncing all over the place.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I didn't love it. And then I very quickly got a prototype version of these and just switched over to only running in these.
Okay. So not a ton of A/B comparisons, but it does look well. You've been able to do some fairly beefy mountain runs in that shoe, right? So the stability must be better.
Yeah, Transgran Canary is a fairly technical race.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm planning on wearing these for Worlds, I think, which I hear is quite rocky and technical. And I'll do some testing on it out when I get out to the course there for it. But this shoe, it's fairly stable. Like for a super shoe racer,
Mm-hmm.
it can handle a lot. It does have a high stack height. Like I think I'm a fairly comfortable person on technical terrain. I have pretty good ankles, so like take it with a grain of salt, but it does a pretty good job and can handle most things that I've thrown at it.
Yeah, and the outsole has been greatly improved as
Yeah.
well. That was one of the things I immediately remember. Is the first version of the Ultrafly, the ACG Ultrafly prototype that I wore was it had this outsole.
Mm.
And then another one that I tested, they threw that outsole on,
Yeah.
and it was just like so much better in terms of just the grip from the lug design.
Yeah, I like trained through the Salt Lake winter in this shoe and even running on packed snow, it did a great job.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I guess the other thing that we didn't talk about, and trying not to make this sound like too much of a commercial, but
Yeah.
the radical airflow and this
Yeah.
ACG, like most, like I guess the shoe, of course, is going to be available to the public, but the radical airflow shirt is going to be actually commercially produced.
Hmm. Yeah.
Dude,
I know.
I can't
Pretty
wait
cool.
to buy one of those.
Yeah, I don't. I get a lot of messages saying when is this going to be available and that sort of thing. I don't have the answers, but I think I've heard sometime next year.
Yeah, I've heard. Well, maybe it was just for the ACG Ultrafly. It was like spring 2026, but it would. I
Yeah,
don't know. It would
I
make
think
sense if everything came out then.
I do think Radical Airflow, last I heard, might be a little later, which might make sense anyway because that's kind of when it starts getting hotter. But
Yeah, very true. So, how long have you been in Europe for?
mm, like 10 days now.
And are you going to be there all the way through Worlds?
Yeah, I get back home October 1st. So after Worlds, I hang out in Barcelona for like 3 days and then head out.
Okay. So, what's I guess switching over to just chatting about you a little bit.
Yeah.
What's like a day in the life of Caleb Olson been like over in Chamonix as someone who's not racing?
Yeah. It's funny because on one side it's super fun not racing because I can go do Mount Blanc twice on back-to-back days and not be worried about like completely blowing myself up for a race next weekend. But it also is surprisingly busy. I think it's busy for everybody right now, like on the ACG team, because we're doing a brand launch. There's a lot of product teams out here and we're giving a lot of feedback. But especially if you're not racing, they're kind of trying to like protect the racers from having too many obligations, but that means that the people who aren't racing are doing even more. And
Yeah.
then there's also like the non Nike sponsors that I'm meeting with, and it ends up being a lot, but it's really fun. There's also, you cannot walk through the streets of Chamonix without getting stopped these days.
Dude, you're the
a
dude
half
now.
mile. Well, kind of, but like I'm becoming more of a dude, but Also, I just feel like I've made friends with a lot of people from all over the world from all of these races that we've been to, and like my network is just growing in terms of people I know, and they're all out here this week. It feels like so. A half-mile walk could take 45 minutes because you're stopping to chat with 6 different people on the way, which is really fun. But also, like I feel like I'm constantly running late to everything. Um, a day in the life, to answer your question, a day in the life usually starts with a run, and I've been trying to get mine done with like kind of on the earlier side, like not crazy early, but maybe I run from like 8 to 10 a.m. or something, and then I watch Marshall while Morgan goes on her run. We do lunch together. I do meetings from 12, like I don't know, 1 to 5 or so, and then I'm working remotely while I'm out here. So I hop on work call like 5 p.m. here is 9 a.m. there. I hop on some work calls. Um,
Oh yeah,
do
I
my
forgot about that. Yeah, you still are employed by another
yeah,
company.
I know. Yeah, well, yeah, trying to make it work, but we'll see. Uh, it's good right now. But yeah, then like tonight we ordered some pizza. We're meeting up with Mike and Katie and Anthony, a bunch of friends. I think Anna's coming, Jimmy. We're gonna go do pizza at our place and hang out, and that's been a pretty average day.
Do you have any crewing obligations at any of the races?
Yes, I'm crewing Anthony on Friday at CCC.
All right, sweet. Okay. Um,
Crewing here is kind of easy because there's only 3 spots, and you can only have one person in the tent. And also, Anthony is like an easy person to crew. He's pretty low maintenance, but the distance between or the time between the 3 different spots is like similar enough that it's pretty much the same needs every time. So unless
mm,
some crazy thing happens and we need to do some troubleshooting, the plan is almost identical at all 3 aid stations. So it's pretty smooth.
nice. So you get to be the guy in the tent?
I think I'm the guy in the tent.
Ooh, good luck.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're pretty dialed.
I've done this race a couple times, so I'd like to think I know it decently well.
That's true, because you've done CCC how many times?
Thrice.
Thrice.
Yeah.
But are we expecting to see you do the big loop at some point in the future?
I think that would be fair to expect. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
like to get out there. I was standing on the Mount Blanc summit the other day, looking at the whole UTMB course, thinking like it's it would be pretty cool to connect all this and to know that I've stood up on top and like been able to see the entire course at once. I think the loop is in my near future.
Right on. That's
Yeah,
cool. How are you feeling about Worlds coming up?
I'm feeling good. It's been a bit different. Like for Western states, I felt like I was just so dialed and so focused and like kind of sacrificing a lot of other aspects of life to getting good training and recovery. And that was great. And that maybe gave me the whatever percent edge that I needed to pull off a win there.
Hmm.
But it's also really hard to do that all year for multiple races. And it's hard to recover from Western. So I kind of got to the point where I still want to do well at Worlds. Obviously, it means a lot to me and it's important. But I think if being a slightly less dialed and slightly more balanced in life for a couple of months and being able to give Morgan a chance to run each day and like these little things that should kind of be happening. If that means I lose my little tiny percent of an edge and that affects my world's performance, I think that's worth it for long term sustainability for me. So I'm feeling good, training's going well, but I also am feeling balanced and healthy and sustainable.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure Morgan appreciates that too, especially as she returns back to running. Um, I lost your camera feed.
I lost your camera feed.
Oh, really?
Hope, yeah, hopefully Riverside can fix it.
Yeah. It sounds like the audio is still coming in, so
Yeah.
that's fine either way. Um, well, sick. I'm trying to think if I had any other questions for you. Might just let you let you go enjoy your pizza. Wish
Thanks
I
for
could be
that.
out there joining you, but maybe next year.
Yeah, you should come out next year. It's a good time out here.
All right. Cool, Caleb. Well, thanks for hopping on. Thanks for sharing a little bit about Radical Airflow, ACG Ultrafly, and where you've been at. We'll be we'll be rooting for you at Worlds, and I'll be watching for you on the CCC live stream as you are helping Anthony make his way to the finish line.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.